Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you all to Monkeys Monday virtual event series. I am Nivetha Lakshmanan. I am a software engineer working at CAT Software. If you have any queries regarding Azure durable functions, you can post it in a comment section, or you can even ping me through my Twitter handle, Nivetha Lakshma too. So today I'm going to talk about Azure durable functions. So today's agenda is I'll give a brief introduction about Azure functions. Why do we need to go for Azure durable functions, what it is, and we'll see in detail about the patterns and the function types. So Azure functions. Which will allow you to run a small piece of code without worrying about the infrastructure. That means it will make you to run a small code called a function directly. You can deploy it into the cloud without worrying about the infrastructure. For example, the particular function that you are going to deploy needs some third-party services. Then you don't need to worry about those third-party services or the resources. Those things will be taken care by the infrastructure, by the cloud provider itself. Second thing is a function. These Azure functions are triggered by a specific type of event. A specific type of event means there are so many events. There are so many triggers like an HTTP trigger or a queue trigger or a timer trigger. So these for example, if you take a queue trigger, these Azure functions will be listening to a queue, an Azure queue. Okay, so whenever you put a message into that Azure queue, it automatically triggers the Azure function and executes the task that is there inside. Third thing is scalable. So scalable means it has the ability to scale according to the demands. For example, during the festive period, there will be so many demands to your applications. If it is a retail application, so people might log into the application and check for some good things in your application. So at that time, the demand would be more. So in order to handle all those demands, these Azure functions will automatically scale in or scale out based on the demands that is coming. Next is pay per use pricing model. Pay per use pricing model means you need to pay only for the time that your code runs, not for the extra time. You'll just pay only when your code runs. That period only you will need to pay. Next is it supports multiple languages like a C#, .NET C# or JavaScript or a Node. So many other languages it supports. Then we say that Azure functions are stateless functions. I'll say why it is a stateless function in the next slide. Okay, so to give a brief introduction about Azure functions, you can simply write a small piece of code without worrying about the infrastructure. That's all. So why it cannot maintain state? Because I'll say this is the client which is going to trigger a function. Okay, so we are just giving a request to trigger a function. Then this trigger will automatically fetch the Azure functions. That is what we say it as FAS, FAAS, function as a service. This is the Azure functions. So this trigger will fetch the Azure functions and it will load it into the container. Then the container will get executed and gives the result back to the client. So at this point, there is no state. There is nowhere you are maintaining the state, right? So what this will do is like the container gets the functions and execute. Once it is given back the result to the client, this particular container will die. So next time you give request, some other container will gets loaded and executed. So this cannot maintain state. This Azure functions cannot maintain state. So if you wanted to maintain a state in an Azure function, you need to have some you need to have an extra code just to track those state tracking mechanism. Then only you can achieve state inside your Azure functions. So that's all. So it is like the client will trigger the Azure functions, load it into a container, and then gives the result. In this, the container dies as soon as the execution is completed. So this is why the Azure functions cannot maintain state. So in order to maintain state, we have Azure durable functions. So in this Azure durable functions, there will be a function called orchestrator function, where this function will maintain the workflows and maintain the state. So this orchestrator function will call these activity functions. The service A, B, and C are the activity functions. This will be called by the orchestrator functions in a sequential manner or in parallel as well. Okay, so as soon as it gives the request to service A, once the service A is done with the job, it gives the response back to the orchestrator. Until then, this orchestrator function will be in a sleep mode. So once the response is given back, then only the orchestrator gets activated, and then it saves the state from service A, and then it sends it to service B. So this orchestrator function will maintain state. So these states these state history and all will be saved in a history table with the Azure storage. So in this, it maintains states through an orchestrator function, and durable function supports orchestration over choreography. As I said, there is an orchestrator function which will maintain everything. Choreography is nothing but any function can call any function. Service A will call service B, in vice versa, it receives or sends, whereas service B can call service C. There will be nobody in center to coordinate all those things. So here orchestrator function will coordinate all the activity functions. So that is why we are going for Azure durable functions in order to maintain state to your Azure functions. So okay, we have seen why do we need to go for. Then what is Azure durable functions? Azure durable functions is an extension of Azure functions that helps us to write a stateful functions. As I said before, in order to maintain state inside your function, you are going for durable functions. Next is we have two things. One is a stateful workflows. The other one is a stateful entities. These stateful workflows will be achieved by writing an orchestrator function, whereas the stateful entities will be done by the entity functions. So workflows is nothing but, as I said before, the orchestrator function is a function that will maintain everything, will call these services maybe periodically or by parallelly as well. Okay, so we are maintaining some kind of workflow in this, right? We are calling A, then B, then C. So we have some kind of workflows linked with it. Whereas in entity functions, it will be like you will take a particular variable, and whenever you run that particular variable, you are just incrementing by 1. So for example, you are taking counter as a variable. Initially it will be 0. So for every trigger you are making it 1, 2, 3. So to update or create a particular entity, then you will go for entity functions. Today we will see an example in orchestrator functions. I'll show you the full implementation and deployment in the cloud. So this is how the Azure durable functions looks like. Initially there will be a client function. That function is the one that is going to call this orchestrator function. So orchestrator function will look like this. Run durable orchestration context is the parameter in the orchestrator function. So this will send you the data. So this orchestrator function will call other activity functions. So in this example, if you see, this is a function chaining pattern where first function that we are calling is F1 with the parameter with the input null, and once we run this call activity async function1 activity function, that will give us the result as X, and then we'll input this X into f2 function gets the result in y, then we are passing y as an input to the another function f3 and getting the result at the end. Okay, so this code is the example for function chaining pattern. We'll see this patterns in the upcoming slides. So this is a simple thing. A client function will call this orchestrator function. This orchestrator function will have all these activity functions. Just the calling workflow will be there in the orchestrator function. Okay. So we have seen about the code. We have seen why do we need to go for Azure Durable Functions, what it is, and we have seen the code as well. Now we'll see how it actually works. Okay. So I've told you about three things. One is an orchestrator function. The other one is an activity function and the execution table. So this execution history table will have the log details, how what and all the data has been done. Okay, so for example, whenever there is a client function calling the orchestrator function, immediately in the history table it will store it like orchestrator started and execution started. Okay, then what it will do is, as soon as it sees the call activity async method inside your orchestrator function, what it will do is like it will not call the activity function directly. It will go and check the execution table whether this activity has completed already. If it is not completed, then this execution history table will give a false to the orchestrator function. Then only it calls the activity function. Then this activity gets executed and it says it is completed. So these logs, every data that you are doing will be logged in your history table. So now the activity function has returned hello world. So as soon as this activity function is done, it will not go to the next step, return outputs. It again starts from the first and sees the call activity async method. This time it first checks the execution table. It is already, this activity function is already been executed, right? So that is there inside your history table as well. So this history table itself will return the value to the orchestrator function. It need not need to go again to activity function and execute the result. Okay, now this execution history table has given the result as orchestrator function and then returns the output. That's all. So this is how the durable functions work. So every time the client function calls the orchestrator function, it first checks the history table whether it is already executed. If it is not, then only it will go and check the activity function. So this is how it maintains state in your history table. So that is why we say durable functions maintain state. So this is how it maintains state. So next is patterns. We have so many patterns in Azure Durable Functions. The first pattern is function chaining. In this, functions are the functions are F1, F2, F3, and F4. These functions are sequentially arranged one after the other. So output of one function will be given as an input to another function. The same way it goes on. Okay, at the end, the F4's result will be given as an output to the as an end result. So if you wanted to handle any error, you can use a try catch statement, or you can even use a retry mechanism to retry. If the function gets failed, you can retry it and make it run. Okay, so you can use try catch statements as well. So this is what a function chaining does. Before I have showed you one example, right? One code example that is the exact code for function chaining. So it calls the function 1 with null parameter, gets the result in x, then gives the x as input to the second function f2, gets the result in y, then y as given as an input to f3 function, then gets the result. So that's all. Next is fan out, fan in. In this fan out and fan in, initially this f1 function, we'll assume this as an orchestrator function. What this f1 will do is like it will call the f2 functions, but in parallelly. Okay, so these F2 will execute multiple functions in parallel, and then it will wait for all the functions to get finished. Okay, once all the functions in F2 are finished, then only it will send the output to F3. Sometimes we do some kind of aggregation as well. For example, if the F2 function has total of 3 subjects, okay, total of 3 subjects, then what this aggregation will do is like we will sum up all the results from F2, and then that total result will be sent to the F3 as well. So that is what this fan out fan in means. Okay, the F1 will execute multiple functions in parallel and wait for all the results to get all the functions to get finished, and that result would be sent to the F3. So this is what is fan out fan in pattern. Next is asynchronous HTTP API. So this asynchronous HTTP API will address the problem of long running operations. That means, for example, a function might take around 30 minutes to get executed. Then what we'll do is like we don't have to sit and check whether the operation has completed. So what this will do is like initially the client will start the orchestrator function, and that will call the do work activity function. So once this activity function has started, this client won't be in the same place. Okay, we will redirect the client to a status endpoint. We'll itself redirect the client to a status endpoint. That status endpoint will poll the operation just to know whether the operation is going to get finished or not, just to get the status of that particular operation. So I'll say it once again. We are going to call the start function as an orchestrator function. Then the start function will call the do work function. Inside do work function, we have a function that is going to run it for 30 minutes. Then what we will do is like we will redirect the client to a status endpoint. That status endpoint will check whether the operation is completed or not, or when it is going to be ended. Okay, so this is what is asynchronous HTTP API. Next is monitor. So monitor pattern refers to a flexible recurring process in a workflow. For example, you need to know whether the function is completed or not. So what you will do is like until the specific conditions are met, you will keep on polling it. Okay, whether you are finished, whether you'll keep on checking whether it is finished or not. For example, if you take if you in your office, what you will do is like every day morning at 9 o'clock, whether you're seeing whether people have checked in to the office. So what you will do at 9 till 9:30 you will check. So until 9:30 you keep on polling whether this person has arrived or that person has arrived. So you keep on polling until that 30 minutes end. Okay, until the specific conditions are met, we keep on polling. So that is what a monitoring means. So this is how the monitoring pattern works. It just keeps on polling and checks whether the condition is met or not. Okay, so next is human interaction. So in some scenarios you will have a human interaction in between your process, right? For example, you have a file that has a very precious data, very important data of your company. What you will do, you will get the approval from your manager, and then only you will process that file, right? So in that thing, what you will do is like you will have a request approval. Okay, this request approval is the function that will have the timer. Okay, for example, we are saying like 10 minutes timer. So request approval will start the function and wait for 10 minutes whether to approve the particular file from your manager. So if the manager is not approving it in that 10 minutes, then what this function will do is like it will escalate the process. If we approve it before 10 minutes, then it will process approval and does the job that is there inside your function. So when there is a human interaction, you will include the timer inside and then wait for some time to them for them to approve it. If they are not doing before that time, then we will escalate it, and inside escalate you will have functions like you will send it to an higher manager. Okay, so that is what a human interaction does. Okay, so we have seen about 5 patterns in this. The first one is function chaining, the functions are sequentially arranged. The output of one function is given as an input to another function. The second one is fan out, fan in. In this, we execute multiple functions in parallel and wait for the functions to get completed, and then we'll send it to the next one. So it is like we are fanning out, right? F1 is split into F2 as 3 things, okay, multiple things. So we are fanning out and then fanning in. Okay. Synchronous HTTP API is like we'll have a API. We will have an endpoint, HTTP endpoint, that will start the long running process. Instead of waiting there in the long running process, we'll just redirect the client to a status endpoint where he'll check whether the operation has finished or not, or when it's going to get finished. Next is monitor. Monitor is like we'll poll until specific conditions are met. Next is human interaction. When there is a human interaction in between your process, then you'll insert a timer in your function and then wait for some time. If it is done, if the time if it is approved before the time, then we'll send it to process approval function. Otherwise, we will send it to escalate. So we have seen five patterns here. Then is function types. So in this function types, we have actually 4 functions: client function, orchestrator function, activity function, and entity function. So the client function is like a startup file. Okay, this client function is the one that is going to trigger immediately after you give the HTTP endpoint. Okay, this client function is the one that is going to call your orchestrator function. So orchestrator is the one that is going to handle your workflows, maintains your state, everything. Okay, once this orchestrator function will call the activity functions based on the patterns that you are using. The patterns that we have seen before is like 5 patterns. You can use any of the 5 patterns to get your result. Okay, the other one is an entity function. Entity function, as I said before, it is you're just updating an entity. For example, counter will be 0 initially. After for every HTTP trigger, for every trigger that you give, the counter will get incremented like 1, 2, 3. So you are just updating a particular entity for each and every call. So that is a entity function. So now we'll see the demo. Give me a second. So I'll just show you from the first, like how to create a durable function, and how we'll get the code, how to create and how to deploy it in the cloud. So I'm just going to create a new project. So inside that project, you need to create an Azure functions. So give some give the project name and select your location as well, and then create. So initially, just check whether it is in version 3, because Azure Functions latest version is version 3, and please create it in .NET Core, that is the latest one, and empty. This should be a storage emulator, because in the local, if you run, you need to run it using your storage emulator. If you want, you can even connect it with your Azure account as well. Okay, I'm just connecting it with my storage emulator and running it. Okay, so this will create the project. So this has created the project now. So as soon as I create it, I'll go and add an Azure function. durable functions is exactly the same as Azure functions, but it just maintains state. Okay, you need to create a durable function. So you need to create a you need to create an Azure function. So I'll say it as demo. Okay, so when you create an Azure function, it will ask you for a trigger. Okay, so as I said, there are so many triggers: HTTP trigger, timer trigger, queue trigger, blob trigger, and so on. So in order to create your durable function orchestration, then you need to select this. Okay. So this has created a sample code just to run it as soon as you create and check. Okay, so I will say I'll start it from the started function. So this function is the client function. Okay, durable client. Okay, this is the client function which is going to call the orchestrator function. Demo is the orchestrator function. See, if you see our demo, it is an orchestration trigger. So this client function is going to call the orchestrator function, and then this orchestrator function as the list of activity functions. We are just calling the same function 3 times. Okay, demo hello 3 times we are calling the same function, but in a sequence, but in a not in a sequential manner, just we are calling it and we are getting the result. Okay, in this, if you see, initially it will come, the outputs variable will be a new list, and then we'll call the demo allow function, so that will return us the allow Tokyo. As soon as it gets finished, it doesn't start to execute this statement, else it goes and starts it from the first. Then when it comes to this statement, it omits to call the activity function because the history table will be having the data. So I am just going to run this. It is a sample. This durable functions will give us the HTTP endpoint. So this is the endpoint. In this we have demo underscore HTTP start function. That is the client function. Okay. So this is the function name, demo underscore. This will call the, so this will call the client function. So I'm just going to copy that and put it in the. So this will give us the instance ID, the status query get URI, and many other URLs. So in this, I'm just going to see a status. I'm just going to get this URL alone, a status URL, and just I'm going to paste it in a separate tab and going to get whether the function has completed or not. The runtime status gives us completed, and it also gives us the output. So allow Tokyo, allow Seattle, allow London are the outputs from the function that we have executed. Okay, so this is how the durable functions work. So that's all. The executed demo succeeded. That's all. Okay, so this is how it works in the local. Okay, this is a sample code that we have. So this is how it works. Now I need to deploy this in Azure function in the cloud, right? So we have implemented the durable function. We have created it, implemented it, and we have even tested it in our local as well. Now we need to publish it in our cloud. So for that, you will right click the project and then go for consumption plan, because this is the one that will have pay-per-use thing. So you will use this consumption plan and create new. If you have existing, you can give that as well. So before you publish, just check whether the account that you have is like linked with your cloud. So now I'm just going to start publishing it. So now I have given a correct cloud directory, and I have got the subscription as well. I have created this resource group already. If you want, you can create a new as well. And the storage account also I have created already. So I'm just reusing it. I'm just going to create it. So this will take a little time. If you have any questions, you can post it in the comment, so that if I know I will. So this will take a little time. Yeah, this has deployed it. This function, this durable demo has got deployed in the cloud. We'll just check that as well. Okay. App service name is like demo 2020 something. I'm just going to get the functions. Sorry, it's a durable demo, right? So I'm just going to I'm just going to run this. It will show your functions 2.0 app is running, and okay. So inside this, okay, inside this, if you want, you can create your functions. I don't know why this is not having the function. So, okay, this is how you deploy it in the cloud. Okay, so I have a separate demo. So I've just created and showed you like how to deploy it in the cloud. So I have a separate demo where I have certain things. I'll just explain you like how the functions gets executed. So before that I've executed this in local, right? So I'll show that in storage account as well, in the history table as well. Okay, so today is 31. Okay, so yeah, in this, if you see demo allow, so these are all the data that is stored inside your history table. Okay, so it is like initially the orchestrator started, and then the execution started, and it calls each and every function and gets the result at the end. So this is how the history table looks like. So in this history table, you can get the partition key. Partition key is the instance ID that every time you run a durable function, that will give us the instance ID that will be saved as a partition key. Then the row key will be empty, and the timestamp when you are running the durable functions, and when it is got ended, the execution ID as well, and gives the type as well. This will have the orchestrated, started, ended, task, schedule. Even you can have your timer fired as well. So if you wanted to fire this trigger at 10 AM in the morning every day, then that will have a timer created as well. Okay, so this name will have all the function names and gives the result in the result column. Okay, so this is the history table. This will be there inside your emulator when you run your local, when you are running it in local. So then we'll see a next demo, like the same durable functions demo, but with the function chaining process. Okay, so in this, what I'm doing is like I'm just going to book a conference ticket at first, and then once the conference ticket is booked, then I'll book this flight ticket and then the hotel ticket. So I'm just going to send the parameter Monkeys Monday series, the event's name, as a parameter to the book conference method. So this function, this activity function, will execute certain things. I'll just go and show you the book conference function. Okay, this is going to get the event name, that is Monkeys Monday series, as an input, and I'm just going to use that event name in some place. Okay, I have just given it statically because you can do whatever you want inside your thing. Okay, I just wanted to know you all the concepts alone. Okay, so I'm just passing the event name inside. I'm just welcoming you all to register for the event, and I'm just going to give the details for a conference ticket. Okay, I'm just going to enter my user details and my designation and my organization, and from which date to which date I'm going to attend the conference. Okay, I'm just booking a conference ticket. So this result will have the details of a user. Okay, for a conference ticket, you are just getting the result. Okay, I'm just giving this result as this result is an output, right, for this particular book conference function. Now what I'm doing is like I'm just giving this to a flight ticket activity function. So this conference is an input to a next function. This is the function chaining. Okay, one output is given as an input to another function. So now this book flight will use this conference details. For example, the conference details add the first name and the last name of the person, right? So for that same person only, you're going to book the flight ticket as well. So I'm just reusing the details from that and giving a static flight ticket data, and giving that as a result to the next function. And same way for hotel confirmation as well. The same person will be staying in the hotel as well. So I'm just passing the output to the next function as an input. At the end, you will get the hotel confirmation saying that your booking has been done successfully in the hotel, the name. Okay, so that's all. So this is how the function chaining process gets executed. I'll just show you. I have already deployed it in cloud. I'm just going to show you the result only. So I told you here we need to call the client function. Here we have three functions: naming, function chaining, HTTP start, and the other three as the activity function. So I am just going to call this function chaining HTTP start. So go to the Azure portal, get this HTTP start. If you want to run it in your cloud, then you need to get your function URL, copy it, and give this. So it will immediately give you the details of the instance ID and the app and the status URL. So you need to get this status URL and put it in a separate. This is just to tell us the output. Okay, now I have actually, what I have done is like I have okay, I'll publish it once again. I have published the before one, right? So that has actually changed the publication of this. So I am just going to publish this again. Once again, I'm just republishing it because I have published that demo in the same function. Yeah, the publish is got executed. I'm just calling the same function again. If you're not getting it, no problem. You can go and just restart it. So this will restart your web app. So that will, yeah. So now you can get the get the function URL and then put it. Immediately it gives you the endpoint. Just check it. This will give you your booking has been done successfully in the hotel ITC Grand Chola. So that's all. This has the function name, instance ID, status of the operation, and your output, and the created time and the last updated time. So if you are doing any changes in your durable functions, immediately publish it. So that's all. So that's all from my end. Thank you.